Hi, and welcome to my video on review 2 on limits and continuity. This review is on videos 11 to number 20. And again, as in all reviews, mark it as a quiz, and this one will be out of 17. So you give yourself the marks for each question, total up the page, total up all the pages when you finish, and put your mark over 17 to get your percent. Here we go. Videos 11 to 20. Find the limit at x approaches -2 on this rational function. So notice the -2, there's a -8 here. If you put a -2 here, you get -8. You put -2 here, you get 2. So there's no indeterminate form, so we can sub that in and get the value of our limit at -2. So -4 is -8. 4 minus 2 is 2. So the limit is -4. So you have -4. Give yourself 1. This is the direct substitution because there's no indeterminate form. And let's find the limit on this function. Rational function, because it has a fraction. It's the numerator and denominators are polynomials, and it's called a rational function. It's a fraction made of polynomials. But we want to find the limit as it goes to 1. Put a 1 right here, I get a 0. Put a 1 here, I get a 1. Put a 1 here, I get a 1. And 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So I have an indeterminate form. That means I have to, if I can't simplify it, then I got a vertical asymptote and I have no limit. But as it happens, this quadratic is factorable. X plus 2 minus 1. So the product is -2 and the sum is +1. Factors are 2 and 1, plus minus. The x minus 1's cancel, and I get an x plus 2. So the limit as you approach 1 is 1 plus 2 is 3. So if you have it factored correctly and you have x and you cancel to get x plus 2, give yourself a mark. If you put 1 in and got 3, give yourself a mark, another mark, 2 marks altogether. So what about the limit of this function as it approaches 5? Put a 5 here and check. Well, we got to check to see, make sure we don't get 0 over 0, the indeterminate form. 5 minus 10, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. 5 plus 4 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Again, I got a 0 over 0. So I have to see if I can simplify it or remove the denominator. So one way is to rationalize the denominator by multiplying it by its conjugate. So its conjugate is the square root with the plus. So this is a minus b, this is a plus b. That's the difference of two squares, that's its conjugate. So when you multiply that out, let's multiply the denominator first. This is x plus 4 times x plus 4, the root multiplied by itself is x plus 4. -3 times plus 3 is minus 9. And we have, I see a 2 here that's common, so it's an x minus 5 coming out. And this is the root of x plus 4 plus 3. Okay, so this gives us 2 times x minus 5. And this is the root of x plus 4, add on 3. And this denominator becomes x minus 5. Notice the x minus 5 is canceling out. So now we can put a 5 in and see what we get. So it's 2, and we put a 5 in here. It's the root of 5 plus 4 plus 3. So that's 2, bracket. So that's a 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So that's 2 times 6. Again, by doing its conjugate, and the conjugate is when you do the conjugate, just reviewing, this is like an a plus b times an a minus b. That gives you a squared minus b squared. So when you multiply these two, you square this root and you get x plus 4, and you square the 3 to get a 9, that's a negative. So this simplifies out, and so the limit is 12. Again, if you did recognize the conjugate, you simplified it to this form right here, you get a mark, and if you worked out the value of 12, you get a mark, 3 altogether. Number 4, find the limit as theta approaches pi over 2. Pi over 2 is 180 divided by 2 is 90. But we got to get the limit. So let's see. We have to simplify this. See, again, let's see. Pi over 2 is 90. The cos of 90, if you think about it, let's look at the unit circle. That's a 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, negative 1, 0. And this is 0, negative 1. So pi over 2, 180 divided by 2 is 90. So the cos of 90 is 0. So that's a 0 here. The sine of 90 is 1. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. That's 0 as indeterminate. So I have to simplify it. So I see a 6 common. So I take the 6 out. 1 minus sine theta. Cos squared is same as 1 minus sine squared. Keep simplifying. Notice I got a 1 minus sine here, so let's see if I can factor the denominator. That's the difference of two squares. It's 1, 1, and plus sine minus sine. Difference of two squares again. 1 minus sine cancels out, so we get 6 all over 1 plus sine theta. And this is the limit as theta is approaching pi over 2, which is 90. So we put the sine of pi over 2. And again, pi over 2 is a 90. The sine of 90 is the y, so that's a 1. So that's a 6. 1 plus 1. That's a 2. So the limit is a 3. So 3 marks for doing this question. And if you simplified all this, again, the main part is to simplify this down. If you get it down simplified to here, you get a mark. If you subbed in and you got a 1, you get a mark. And if you got 3 worked out, 3 marks altogether. And so when you get that done, you add up and is that a 12. Okay, next page. 3 more to do. Find the limit as x approaches 2 on the negative side, that's on the left side of this absolute value. Well, before we start here, let's simplify this. So this is the absolute value as a negative. So we have negative 3 outside of x minus 2. Okay, and so what does that give us? Now, that's the same as the absolute value of negative 3 and the absolute value of x minus 2. Okay, so there's the limit as x approaches 2 on the negative side. So, as we approach negative 2 on the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. And as we approach, because we're on the left side, remember, if you think about it, the absolute value of x is equal to x when x is greater than or equal to 0. And it's equal to negative x when x is less than 0. So because this is the left side, that means the absolute value of this is the negative of x minus 2. Again, this is on the left side, so it's the negative of this expression. Like because it's less than 0, it's the negative of x. So it's the negative of x minus 2. And so that cancels out. So that gives us a negative 3. If it was on the right side, this would just be x minus 2, positive. So 3 marks. And if you have a simplified to here, let's say simplified to here, and it did the negative here, so we took the negative 3 out with the absolute value, and then so there's 1 mark for this, and there's another mark from writing down the negative of x minus 2, and then negative 3 marks altogether. Find the limit as x approaches negative 1 from the right side of the inverse of sine. Well, let's look at sine is the y. So sine is, if you think about it, sine of 90 is 1, sine of 0, sine of 180 is 0. So sine goes, this is sideways s, there it is. So this is a 1, this is a 90, 180, etc. If you're on the other side, it goes like this. So there's the sine. Again, we're looking at the unit circle, and we have a 1, 0, 0, 1. X is negative 1, y is 0. Here x is 0, y is negative 1. Sine is the y. So at 0, the y is 0. At 90, the y is 1. At 180, the y is 0, 180. 270, y is negative 1, right there. And back to 0 again. So its inverse, we have to do, when we do the inverse, we have to do the reflection. So when we do the inverse, it's restricted. So this part is the restriction on its inverse because it's reflected in the line y equals x. So its inverse, this point here is 90. Notice I got a 90 instead of a pi over 2. I always like, so this point here is x, you got a 90 giving you a 1. And right here, this point is you got a negative 90 or negative pi over 2 giving you negative 1. So its inverse is you switch. So it goes from, instead of being from 90 to negative 90 on the x, it's a 90 to a negative 90 on the y. And the x value is being here on the y, and the y goes from 1 to negative 1, that's on the x, so that's 1 to negative 1. So this point is 91 becomes 190. That's 90 degrees. This point is negative 90, negative 1. It's negative 1, negative 90. Again, it's the inverse, and it's reflected. The x becomes the y, and y becomes the x. So it passes through 0, 0. So it's looping like this. Again, if you do the reflection, you turn it over like I showed you in my videos on inverses of trig functions. You'll see it. And we want to find out as this approaches negative 1 on the positive side. So this is approaching negative 1. On the positive side, right here, this positive side, we have a negative 90. And so that's negative 90 degrees, or it's a negative pi over 2 in radians. And again, if you can see the inverse graph right here and you can get this answer, give yourself 2 marks. Or if you got negative pi over 2 right away, give yourself 2 marks. And we have one more to do to find the limit as x approaches 0 on the sine of 5x, excuse me, the sine of 5x divided by 3x. Well, one way that I do it, this 5x got to be right here. So what I do, I go 5 over 5 you can spell limit correctly now. Getting sloppy. So, in order for, what I'm trying to get at is the sine of x divided by x is 1. The sine of 2x divided by 2x is 1. So I need, if this is a 5x here, I need a 5x here. So by putting 5 over 5, I haven't changed this expression at all. 5 over 5 is the same as 1. So what I do then is that there's the 5x here. So I take that 5 and move it here. I take the 3 and I move it out here. So so if you multiply 5 by 3x, you get 15x. So it's still true. So if you sine of 5x over 5x, well, when you sub a 0 in here, that's 5 over 3 times 1. So that becomes a 5 over 3. So there's a trick. By having 5x here, I need a 5x here. So I had to do 5 over 5. And this 3 just moves out in front as a product. And we have 3 marks. So if you recognize this step here, again, what pattern you take or how you come to do it. If you get 5 over 3, give yourself 3 marks. That's 8 marks for that page altogether. And that brings us to the end of this review on videos number 11 to 20. And I didn't want to do too much to one time. I just wanted to do them, pardon the pun, in pieces to break it up because the unit is long. And if you total up each page, if you mark is that a 17, divide 17 into your numerator, get a decimal, move your decimal 2 places to the right, and you'll get a percentage. And hopefully the percentage is 100. And you understand the unit so far. And that brings us to the end. And if you like my video, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained, just one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.